Hello everyone. Welcome to Indian Stents Get Updated. I'm Viveka Roy Chaudhary from Express Healthcare. It's been a long time since the first stent was used in 1986. For instance, interventional cardiologists today have preferred to use the radial angioplasty rather than femoral angioplasty. Why have they switched to this new technique? Is it because patients benefit a lot more from this new technique? To know more about this and other new techniques and technologies which have come into interventional cardiology in the last 20 odd years, we have with us Dr. Sanjay Chugh. So good day to you, Dr. Chugh. Thank you for speaking to Express Healthcare. A warm welcome.
Thank you.
And as I said in my intro, stents have been around for a very long time. In fact, there are a lot of new technologies and techniques that have been used. Interventional cardiologists like yourself have moved from femoral to radial, and you're a big proponent of the radial method. Could you tell us why are you a proponent of the radial method, and how does it really benefit patients?
Well, I'm not only a proponent, I am actually one of the three pioneers of radial in this country. To start with, I trained in Toulouse in 1997 when I was a registrar in the UK. And then subsequently I worked at multiple centers, and one of them was a dedicated radial center in Victoria, British Columbia. So when I came back to India, it was considered like a gimmick. It was considered to be like driving backwards. But time has shown there's enough data now, published data, randomized studies, which have shown in acute coronary syndromes, survival is definitely better when the patients undergo procedures through the radial access, which is through the radial artery in the wrist rather than through the groin. And the simple reason is that when we do procedures from the groin, then because of the anatomy there and the soft tissue, the risk of bleeding is much more, because blood thinners have to be used during angioplasty. And so when they bleed more, they have more complications. Then you have to stop blood thinners, you have to transfuse blood, and so that actually spirals into a higher mortality, more risk of dying. But when we are doing from the wrist or doing from the back of the hand, which is the newer technique, then none of this actually happens, and there is no bleeding risk or vascular complication. I can say no in experienced hands, and virtually no, because even if you get small hematomas, these are small bruises in the hand, whereas in the groin, it can be disastrous and major bleeds. Other than that, of course, we have the comfort of the patient sitting up immediately and going to the washroom if required, or sitting up and having food. You know, it's a major thing when you're sick. When you do from the groin, patients actually can't eat for maybe 12 hours because they've had an angioplasty, so you've got to wait for the blood thinner to wear off. Then you've got to take the sheath out, and so you can only allow sips of water. And then once they sit up, it could be 12 hours, and only then they are allowed to eat. So, you still don't know if they are going to get into a vascular complication, whether the patient might require surgery for that or another procedure. So you've got to withhold food because till everything is done, the procedure is not over. But with radial, you know that once it's done, it's over. The only thing that could happen is slight vagal. Vagal is basically a response of the body where you can have some drops in pressure, or these things happen much more with the groin. They are much less with radial, and it's easily managed by just giving fluids and hydrating the patient. So we take care of that, and we've learned over the years to be very careful about, because the patient is mobilizing early. She should not be dehydrated, she should be hydrated well. So these things are very minor which can happen with radial, but they are disastrous and fatal when they're done from the groin. So clearly, there's no question about this in today's time. The world is moving towards radial.
And I think women patients also would prefer radial because there are privacy issues when you have to.
Absolutely. The women patient definitely would prefer that, privacy issues, and let us also include the people who are well-known celebrities.
Right.
I did the angioplasty on one such celebrity who was actually, this was in 2008, the ghazal singer, Jagjit Singh.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see, he's a Sikh, so they don't want their hair shaved.
Ah.
And so he only allowed us to use a clipper for his wrist, and we could do an angioplasty. And he did well. 5 years later, he had some other problems related to his brain. That's a different matter. But he flew down from Mumbai to get his wrist angioplasty done, and that applies to a lot of celebrities who would not want, they would want their privacy respected and would probably opt for the wrist. So that's a very valid point. And women particularly, their risk of having vascular complications, retroperitoneal bleeds are also higher when you do from the groin. So actually in terms of survival benefit, it makes more sense in the ladies to actually go from the wrist.
I believe you've also recently released a book on this topic at CSI. So what was the response? What has been the response from
Yes, we actually released our book. It's called Handbook of Transradial Interventions by Oxford University Press. And the response was phenomenal because it's already gone out of print. So it's being reprinted. I think the next reprint would be available in a few months. And this book is on transradial interventions, covers all aspects. And we've got contributors from all over the world who are contributing in this book, starting from the UK to Europe to Japan, USA, India. We've got contributors from all over the world, and these are all respected experts in each of the aspects. And I've also contributed 4 chapters, other than being the chief editor for the book. And it covers all aspects, so it helps the younger generation, the younger cardiologists, learn easier and quicker based on the experience of the pioneers. And also, it's very good for the senior cardiologists who now want to change over to radial without feeling embarrassed, because it covers everything and all tips and tricks. And so I think it's a great boon to the cardiology interventional community.
Okay. So now we've talked about radial really becoming the norm when previously it
Yes.
was considered, something too
Yes.
different. So what kind of techniques and technologies you see which are just, coming up in the beginning of this decade and in the decade ahead, do you foresee that they're going to become the norm? Any top 3 that come to mind?
Well, let's first go through the radial bit, because the industry never supported much of radial. So there wasn't much development in the hardware and stuff. And as I said this morning in my talk on the angioplasty through the back of the hand, this is the newest technique, is through the back of the hand. And so when you go from the back of the hand, it's much easier to get hemostasis, because you just put a bandage here and you're done. Whereas from the groin, you would be pressing and you would be still trying to control the bleed. And the previous speaker, the speaker who spoke before me, he was talking about huge risk of complications and difficulties that could arise from wide bore access in the groin. So this is a newer technique which actually makes it much easier for the patient. Although these are bigger challenges, so you need an experienced operator to be able to do all of this, but you can do any kind of case from here as well. So that is one change in the technology, which is, I would say, a newer and an advanced technology. And a lot of people are now suggesting using ultrasound guidance for puncture in the groin to prevent those complications. Where we began, where we had to do ultrasound to make sure that we did not fail, we did not cause pain, because we were under the microscope. Because as pioneers, we were competing with an established technology. So to be equivalent, we had to be completely sure that we did not fail or cross over to the groin, because then we would not be able to support the technology. So we started using, and we became pioneers, and we have a landmark paper in using Doppler ultrasound for radial access so that you don't fail. And now the femoralists are coming back to that, saying they want to do. So that's an advancement in technology, using ultrasound guidance for these difficult punctures. And the third thing is that we have now sheathless techniques coming up where these are less traumatic for the radial artery. And when we go on to other areas other than angioplasty, in angioplasty we have newer stents coming up. Some of those are Indian stents which are doing equally well. But when we go to other technologies like the valve implantations done catheter based, so that's the aortic valve or the mitral valve, these are huge quantum jumps, but they need to be accepted with caveats that they are not applicable to all patients. There's a select group for which these are actually approved, and therefore they have to be applied to those groups. And of course there are issues with wide bore access in the groin, again because these can't be done radially. So the valve technologies would need to still undergo a lot of change to be able to make their wide bore groin access safe, because just doing a valve with a wide bore access complication is not the best thing. So there's going to be more development in the wide bore access groin hemostasis techniques. So these are all things which are going to happen in the next few years.
Okay. So we talked a little bit about trials that are being conducted. All these things need to be first trialed and evidence-based before it really goes into wider clinical practice.
Absolutely.
And you also talked about Indian stents that are now in the market. So we've had a couple of RCTs, random clinical trials. on randomized clinical trials on Indian stents, and one of them is the Talent and the Multi-Talent, and we've had the second year 2 results of
Yeah.
Talent, which were just released last September, I believe.
Yeah,
So do you
I'm aware of
feel-
that. Yeah.
Do you feel that they have reached, that they reach your expectations of the expectations of the clinical and interventional cardiology community?
Yeah.
What has been the global acceptance for Indian stents?
See, from my understanding, based on these trials, there's kind of, the data has been very encouraging because these Indian stents have been found to be comparable to the multinational stents which were previously tested out in larger studies. So now head-to-head comparisons have actually given them a place of acceptance, and it's on the individual operator what his choices and preferences are, and it depends on the hospital, on the country's government regulations. Like our government regulations have allowed these Indian stents to be used without any issues because cost-wise they are way cheaper. Of course, there's been a cap now on all stents, so the cost issue is not there anymore. But the data, if it is comparable and the government accepts it, I mean, we are happy with that.
Okay. And RCTs, how comparable are they to clinical practice? Because do the conditions under an RCT mimic as much the clinical practice conditions?
Well, if somebody were to just base it on clinical practice, I wouldn't believe it because those would be anecdotal. But if you base it on a randomized controlled trial, any scientific data has to be accepted and believed. It can be discussed, it can be criticized, but in the end, if these are well-designed randomized controlled trials which have been accepted and published, and the government accepts that and gives the license for these to be used, there's absolutely no question why we would question that. Of course, there is evidence base, then you have to apply that to your individual patient, and the modifications can happen. That is an individual operator's decision based on clinical judgment in that particular situation. So it's not like, we are making it a law, but we are giving you the data to give it credibility, and the options are there for the doctor, for the operator to decide.
Okay, so it's more a move towards evidence-based practice.
It is,
than
yeah.
this. Dr. Chugh, what is your message to upcoming cardiologists, interventional cardiologists, given the trust deficit that all doctors are facing today from their patients?
Well, the trust deficit is basically coming from the concept now that they are the service providers and the patient is the service receiver rather than being just a doctor and a patient. So I think they need to work on that and make sure that it's more of a doctor-patient relationship where the doctor cares for the patient. And it's a great time because newer technologies are coming up and they can actually pick up those skills and apply the newer technologies and be able to serve their patients much better now. So it's both the things. So I think one has to work on both the things, and so it's a lot of effort. And as you said, they need to go with their eyes open. And having done that, I'm sure that it's going to work out very well for the patient as well as for the younger cardiologists.
Thank you, doctor. That was Dr. Chugh, who spoke to us about why he prefers to use the radial angioplasty method over the femoral angioplasty method and the benefits to patients. Stay tuned to watch more updates on Indian Stents Get Updated at Express Healthcare. Thank you.